I was sitting at my parents' dining table, surrounded by the smell of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in months. My company had just sold for $10 million, and I thought tonight would be a celebration. My mom was smiling, my dad looked proud, but across from me sat my brother Garrett, staring at me with eyes colder than I had ever seen. His jaw was tight, his hands gripping his fork like a weapon. I had no idea that in less than 24 hours, everything I had built would be ripped away by the person who was supposed to have my back. Before I tell you how my own brother destroyed me and how I fought back, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next will show you that family betrayal cuts deeper than any business deal gone wrong. Now, let me take you back to that dinner. Let me explain how I got that $10 million because it matters. 5 years ago, I quit my boring office job where I spent 8 hours a day staring at spreadsheets that meant nothing. I started a software company that built logistics management tools for small and medium-sized businesses. The first 3 years were brutal. I lived in a studio apartment that barely fit a bed, ate instant noodles 4 nights a week, and watched my savings account drain to almost nothing. My family thought I was crazy. Garrett told me at least a dozen times that I was throwing my life away. But in year 4, something clicked. We signed 3 major clients in 2 months. Suddenly, businesses were calling us. We grew from just me and 1 developer to a team of 12. 6 months ago, a major tech corporation offered to buy us out. $10 million. I signed the papers 3 weeks before this dinner. I had plans for that money. Real plans. I was going to invest most of it in index funds, buy a small house, nothing crazy. Then I wanted to use the rest to start something new, an AI application for education that could help students who were struggling in school. I also wanted to make sure my parents could retire comfortably. They had worked their whole lives, and I finally had the means to help them. My brother Garrett is 3 years older than me. Growing up, he was always the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect behavior. Went to law school, got married at 26, had 2 kids by 30. He worked at a prestigious law firm downtown, made decent money, lived in a nice suburban house. On paper, his life looked exactly like what our parents always wanted. When we were kids, Garrett and I were close. He taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with homework, stood up for me when other kids picked on me at school. But somewhere along the way, things changed. When I told him I was starting my own company, he looked at me like I had just announced I was joining a cult. He called it reckless, stupid, irresponsible. Every family gathering during those first few years, he would make some comment about how I should get a real job. When I struggled, he seemed almost satisfied, like he had been proven right. After I sold my company, he barely called. We went from talking once a week to maybe once a month. Every conversation felt strained, like he was forcing himself to be polite. The dinner was at my parents' house, a traditional ranch-style home in the suburbs, about 30 minutes outside the city. It was my mom, Linda's 62nd birthday. My dad, Robert, had set up the dining room with candles and flowers. Garrett showed up with his wife, Stephanie, and their 2 kids. The kids ran around the backyard, while us adults gathered in the kitchen. Mom had cooked all her classic dishes. The kitchen smelled like my childhood. There was the roast beef she always made for special occasions, creamy mashed potatoes with too much butter, green beans with almonds, and her famous apple pie cooling on the counter. Everyone seemed relaxed. Dad poured wine. Stephanie helped Mom set the table. The kids came inside with grass stains on their knees, laughing about something. I handed Mom her birthday gift during appetizers. It was a small diamond bracelet, nothing too flashy, but something I knew she would love. It cost $3,000, but after years of barely being able to afford birthday cards, I wanted to do something special. Her eyes lit up when she opened it. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, telling me I should not have spent so much. That is when I noticed Garrett staring. Not just looking, staring. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching. Stephanie had brought Mom a bouquet of flowers and a card. Nice gifts, but nothing compared to the bracelet. Dad raised his glass and said, "I am so proud of what you have accomplished, son." He was looking right at me. I felt a warmth in my chest that I had not felt in years. Finally, after all the doubt and criticism, my dad was proud. Garrett set his wine glass down hard enough that it made a sharp sound against the table. Yeah, he got lucky. Right place, right time. The room went quiet for a second. I looked at him, trying to figure out if he was joking. He was not smiling. Stephanie touched his arm gently like she was trying to calm him down. I forced a laugh and said something like, "Well, luck helps, but it took a lot of work, too." Garrett just nodded, but his expression did not change. Mom quickly changed the subject, asking the kids about school, but the damage was done. The rest of the meal felt tense, like we were all waiting for something to explode. We moved to dessert, Mom's apple pie with vanilla ice cream. Everyone was trying to keep the mood light. Dad asked me about my plans for the future, what I was going to do with the money. I told him about the AI education app, how I wanted to create something that could help kids who did not have access to expensive tutors. I talked about how education could change lives, how I remembered struggling in math class and wishing I had better resources. Mom loved it. She kept nodding, saying how proud she was that I wanted to help people. Stephanie seemed genuinely interested, asking questions about how the technology would work. Even the kids were listening, their ice cream melting in their bowls. Then Garrett stood up, not just stood, but pushed his chair back so hard it scraped against the floor. He slammed his hand on the table. The silverware rattled. One of the kids started crying. "Can we stop pretending here?" His voice was loud, angry, nothing like the calm lawyer tone he usually used. "Braden is not some genius entrepreneur. He is just a failure who got lucky." Nobody moved. Mom had her hand over her mouth. Dad was staring at Garrett like he did not recognize him. Stephanie grabbed Garrett's sleeve, whispering, "Please, not now." But Garrett was not done. He pointed at me across the table. "You think you are better than me? I worked my entire life. I went to law school. I did everything right. Everything. And you just stumbled into money because you happened to build something at the right time." I tried to stay calm. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. "Garrett, this is not the time or place for this conversation." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No, this is exactly the time." "Mom, Dad, you see what is happening. He is flashing his money around, buying expensive gifts while the rest of us work hard every single day just to get by." Mom finally spoke. "Garrett, please sit down. You are scaring the children." Dad just sat there looking down at his plate like he wished he could disappear. "That hurt more than anything," Garrett said. "My own father would not even defend me." Stephanie pulled Garrett back into his chair. Both kids were crying now. The whole room felt like a bomb had gone off. I wanted to leave, to walk out and never come back, but I just sat there frozen. Then Garrett did something that caught me completely off guard. He took a deep breath, rubbed his face with both hands and said, "I am sorry. I am just really stressed with work right now. I did not mean to blow up like that." The apology felt wrong, too sudden, too smooth. But everyone seemed relieved. Mom started clearing plates. Stephanie took the kids to the living room. Dad poured himself another glass of wine. Garrett looked at me, his expression softer now, almost concerned. "Look, I did not mean what I said. I am actually worried about you. I did not know what to say, so I just waited. You have $10 million, he continued. That is an incredible amount of money. But do you know how to protect it? You are a software guy, not a financial expert. One bad investment, and you could lose everything." He leaned forward, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. "I have a friend, a wealth management advisor. One of the best in the state. Let me introduce you to. He can help you set up a trust, protect your assets, from taxes, from potential lawsuits, all of that. And I can help too. I am a lawyer. I can make sure everything is legal and safe." Mom and Dad both chimed in. Dad said, "Garrett has a point, son. You should protect your money. You worked hard for it." Mom added, "Let your brother help you. He knows about these things." I felt cornered, pressured, but they were family. Garrett was my brother. Despite everything, I wanted to believe he cared. So I said yes. 2 days later, I met the financial advisor, a man named Douglas Palmer. His office was in a downtown high-rise, all glass and steel. The waiting area had leather chairs and abstract art on the walls. Douglas himself looked exactly like you would expect. Mid-50s, gray hair, expensive suit, confident handshake. His desk had framed degrees from impressive universities. Garrett came with me, playing the role of protective older brother. Douglas talked about trusts, asset protection, tax strategies. He used words I did not fully understand, but Garrett was there nodding along, occasionally jumping in to clarify something. It felt legitimate, professional. Douglas slid a stack of papers across his desk. This sets up a revocable trust. Your assets go into the trust protected from creditors and excessive taxation. You will be the primary beneficiary, of course. I started reading, but the legal language was dense. Garrett leaned over and pointed to different sections, explaining them in simpler terms. This part is standard. This is just the tax structure. Here is where it names you as beneficiary. There was one section about co-trustees, Garrett explained. You will want someone you trust to help manage this, especially if something happens to you or if you are traveling and need someone to handle things. I can do that, just as a backup for your protection. It made sense at the time. I signed. Page after page, I signed my name, trusting that my brother was looking out for me. The next morning, I woke up feeling good. The money was protected. I could focus on my new project. I checked my bank account while drinking coffee, just a routine thing I did every morning. The balance was $743. I stared at the screen, certain there had been a mistake. I refreshed the page. Same number. My heart started pounding. I called the bank immediately. The representative sounded calm, almost bored. Yes, sir, the funds were transferred yesterday afternoon per the trust agreement you signed. Everything was done according to the instructions provided by the co-trustee. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. What, co-trustee? What are you talking about? A Garrett Hayes, sir. According to our records, he has full authority over the trust assets. I hung up and dug out the papers I had signed. I read them again slowly, this time looking for the words I had missed. And there they were, buried in legal language I had not understood. Garrett was not just a backup co-trustee. He had complete control. He could move money, make decisions, everything. And I had signed away my ability to stop him. I called Garrett, straight to voicemail. I called again. And again. Voicemail every time. I tried Douglas Palmer. The number went to a disconnected line. I drove to the office building. The suite number he had given me was empty, just a vacant office space with a for lease sign in the window. I sat in my car in that parking garage for an hour, trying to understand what had just happened. My own brother had stolen everything from me, and I had let him. I drove straight to my parents' house. I did not call first. I just showed up, barely able to think straight. When I walked in, Garrett was there, sitting on the couch with Dad, watching a football game like nothing had happened. They both looked up when I came in. Where is my money? My voice came out louder than I meant it to. Garrett stood up slowly like he had been expecting this. Your money is safe, Braden. I am managing it for you. Managing it. You stole it. You and your fake financial advisor friend set me up. He shook his head, almost looking sad. I did not steal anything. You signed the papers. This is all legal. And honestly, I am doing you a favor. You were going to waste $10 million on some app that probably would have failed.